Hi, my name is Jennifer Baker.
Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood?
I can. So I'm the oldest of four. I grew up in Chicago. Um, it gets a little dicey from there. There's multiple reasons for that. Part of the reasons is I now have a severe TBI, so I've lost a lot of memories. But the best way that my sister and I like to explain our childhoods, if you've ever seen the show Shameless, it's very similar to the first few seasons of Shameless, minus the parents doing a lot of the drugs. So, again, family of four kids. We pretty much raised ourselves, and it's not that my parents were bad parents at all. My dad was a workaholic, supporting, and my mom was involved with a lot of other activities. So, and when I say activities, it wasn't bad activities. Like she had worked Monday nights. She had done stuff with ESDA, which was an emergency search and rescue department. Tuesdays and Thursday nights, she was the president of her square dancing club. Wednesday night, she did the board meetings for the town that we had grown up in. And then Friday night, normally her and my dad would be out. So it wasn't, they were out doing, hardcore drugs or anything like that. But it was more of my siblings and I doing a lot for each other. And that even went for making breakfast and whatnot.
How would you say your childhood felt while you were in it?
When I was in it, I thought it was normal. Even, like some of the discipline that we got as kids, I thought was normal. It wasn't until I joined the military that somebody explained to me that holding logs over our head for 15 minutes or however old we were, a minute per age. And so he's like, hey, that's child abuse. I'm like, no, that's normal. Everybody does that. One of the good things about it is, though, I was a very strong kid, both mentally and physically. And even now, I see a lot of other people, and I feel I'm very strong on both of those. So you can't get stronger unless you go through hell. And that's kind of, the silver lining that I like to call it, that I take out of it. There's people who I know have had it so much worse than I have, but then there's people who have had it so much better,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to explain, to some people, like, hey, I went through this, and maybe this is what makes you a better adult, because you can't compare apples to oranges. It's just not possible. You can try and you can get close, but it doesn't always work that way. And even trying to explain to somebody the different things that had happened, it's still hard because they haven't experienced it. So you can talk about it, go into the details and whatnot, but it's still very hard to, have somebody fully understand. And I think that's why my sisters and I are as close as what we are now, because we all went through it together.
What were your dreams as a child?
I wanted to be a race car driver. So that was another thing too. Like as a child, I grew up racing go-karts. When I was in third grade, I rolled a go-kart over in third grade, and then I ran another one into a ditch, and I had hurt myself fairly bad. And after that, I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it. And then in eighth grade, I started again, and I absolutely loved it. And I had done that up until I was 15 and 16, and then my parents got a divorce.
Yeah.
And when my parents got a divorce, my dad had, asked me to lie for him. I didn't agree with it, so I couldn't race anymore. And I had other offers for people I had a natural talent at it, just absolutely amazing at it. And I asked my mom, I'm like, will you follow me around the country? Because I'm not old enough to sign off for myself. And she's like, nope, I'm not doing that. So at that point, things got a bit rough. It was one thing that I loved doing more than anything else. And after I lost that, it was very depressing. So went through that, and then went through a few just other things from the depression from that. And
How old were you?
that was about 17. So I was almost 18. I asked to be emancipated, so I didn't need her signature.
Yeah.
And I was told no. So pretty much any avenue that I can think of to be back in a race car, I tried. And then that also led me to going to college, and I decided at the age of 20 to join the Army, so I can go from the military. I'd get my college paid for, go back to the University of Chicago, become an architect, and then I could afford my own race car that nobody could tell me that I couldn't race or take away from me. And between point A and B, I ended off going in a whole completely different direction.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your relationship with your dad and how he generally made you feel in that relationship?
That is a very, very rocky relationship. I love my dad. I do. So there's a song, we were actually listening to it the other day in the car, and it's called I Hope You Die by the Bloodhound Gang.
I haven't heard it, but it sounds beautiful. It's
Yeah. There was a lot of anger, and it's so weird because I'm not an angry person anymore. But when I was younger, there was a lot of anger towards my dad, and just kind of the way that I saw him treat my mom, the way he treated me, the way I saw him treat my siblings. I didn't agree with it at all. We got better for a little bit. There was some money that was stolen out of Uniform Trust to Minors Act account, which was a pain. Got it back, but still a pain. And years later, when my son was born, we had started talking again and whatnot, and I'd asked him, why, and he said I needed it for the divorce, or I was going to lose the case. And I respected him telling me, like I truly did, because when we would race together, we were very close. And it was weird because when we were younger, we weren't close when we were racing, because racing was always his dream. And so he was getting to live his dream through me, and we were very close. And then when my parents got divorced, like I brought up earlier, and I wouldn't lie for him, is when he's like, oh, well, I'm not getting what I want, so now I'm going to treat you like shit, type of thing. And with that, things just went downhill. We didn't talk for about, I'm trying to think, 5 or 6 years. And then
how did it feel when you had that I guess closer bond, when you and him had that common goal in racing, and then versus how it felt when you didn't talk to him for all those years?
It was amazing. It was truly amazing. Like when we would be at the racetrack, and I think part of it was I got all the attention. It sucked for my siblings, because like my brother he wasn't very good at racing, and he was the second oldest. And then my sister Julie is the third oldest, and she used to come to the racetrack a lot, and she would help in the pits, and she was still young. She was probably 10 or 11 at that time. And then my youngest sister Jess was too young to really do anything, so she either didn't get to go to the track, and she would stay at home with our mom, or she would go and just kind of sit, and I don't even remember what she did.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, when the racing was going on, it was amazing.
And then how was it during that break?
I'd like to say that I was upset, and I know I was hurt and I was angry, but I had so many other things going for me that I'm just like, you know what? You don't want anything to do with me? Go screw yourself, and I'm going to live my life, and you have no control over what I do, and I'm going to start choosing to be happy.
What about your relationship with your mom and how she made you feel?
So my mom and I, when I was younger, she was awesome. And I think that was when the marriage was still good, and in the 80s, I think everybody was having kids, and especially, again, 4 kids, I think some of the kids were, had to make the marriage work, and, again, a lot of marriages do that. But before all the other siblings, my mom and I remember staying up and cleaning the house with her and helping her with things around the house, and then we would play games all night long, and that was great. When I got a little bit older, things got a little rocky. I regrettably had told my mom that I had hated her when I was probably 7 or 8 years old.
Which a lot of kids do.
Yeah, I just remember sitting behind my door with it closed, and her on the other side just crying, and I felt horrible. I couldn't ever let anybody know that I felt horrible because it's like, just kind of growing up in the house you did. If you had emotions, you didn't let anybody see the emotions. So
how was that growing up in a house where you held in your emotions? How did you deal with that?
I started smoking cigarettes and pot at a very young age. Not the right answer at all, but it's the true answer. Lots of acting out, ran away from home. I was out on my own at the age of 17 when I had stopped racing and living on friends' couches.
What would you say you learned from both of your parents?
How not to treat my son. Like that's the biggest one. And again, they weren't bad people. I think it was a lot of growing pains for everybody, with me being the oldest. I'm very stubborn.
Yeah.
And my mom had cursed me. She's like, I hope one day you have a kid just like you. And my son's nothing like I was as a kid. Not at all. He gets good grades. He's very respectful. He takes initiative. He helps with things. He's very caring, very loving. But I also think there's a difference in how he was raised, whereas how I was raised with my siblings. And he's an only child too, so it's much easier to give attention to one kid versus 4 kids. At least that's my, trying to analyze why I am the way I am. That's what I've come up with so far.
Can you tell me about your first love and how that felt?
I wasn't on the sheet. No, it's fine. So, my first love.
It can be candid. It can be.
Okay.
It can be, it can also be anything you would associate with being your first love. It doesn't have to be a person. It can be a hobby. It can be a thing. It can be whatever. When you hear first love, boom.
Okay. Well, I have 2. I have one, which was racing, that I had the natural talent at. And then the other is my boyfriend, Tommy, who we are back together. We were married once before, and then we got divorced when I was in the military because he wouldn't come to Korea with me. And at the time, I was a workaholic, and me being promoted and getting school done and being in a financially stable place was much more important. So a few years after we got divorced, I realized, well, no wonder he didn't want to follow me to Korea. He doesn't know the language. He's going to be stuck in, an apartment somewhere, and I'm never going to be home because work's more important. And I didn't hide the fact that work was more important. So, but no, we had met when I was in 8th grade and he was in a freshman in high school. And yeah, definitely my first love. And
how did that first love feel when you were first going through it?
Oh, absolutely amazing. Like when he first told me that he loved me, I was speechless. Like he had told me over the phone. I was sitting upstairs in my parents' room, and at that point we had known each other for about 2 years. And we had, it's hard to say dating because when you're in junior high and high school, it's not like dating as an adult.
Just had that connection.
Yeah, but definitely had that connection, and he was there through so much of what I was going through and was so much of a support system for me. Like he had helped tuck my younger siblings in at night, when he would be over helping me with them. And he's always been family. So even after we got divorced and whatnot, like he was still a part of the family. And my siblings were very sad when all that was going on, or at least some of them, because my siblings and I had years apart too from my parents' divorce as well. We lost a lot of time together.
Can you tell me about your first loss or heartbreak and how that felt? And it's the same thing. It can be not necessarily a person. It can also be an event.
Which time?
Yeah, it's up to you. Which one registers first or second? You can talk about both of them. Or if it's 3.
So one of them, I lost my dog, Gus, and that was in 2012. And when Gus had died, I was actually married to my son's dad at the time, who was my second husband. And I had went home to Chicago to visit my sister, my younger sister. She was in from Afghanistan, and she was there. Her husband was there, and she had asked me at that point as well if Tommy, if I minded that Tommy was there. Again, he was part of the family. I'm like, yeah, of course. And I was talking to Matt's dad, and he's like, well, Gus got out. I don't know where he is. And I'm like, okay, well, you need to find him. And I was working, and making posters and whatnot after a few hours had passed because Gus wasn't one. He would go run off and explore. We live out in the country, but he would always come back. And they had found him the next morning, and he was hit by a car. And I was a wreck. I was in tears. My mom had given me a Xanax to help calm me down, and then gave me alcohol. Somebody gave me alcohol. Maybe it wasn't my mom. I don't know if she gave me both because my mom's a nurse, and I don't think, that doesn't make logical sense for her to do that. But I remember crying. I remember Tommy just, holding me, being a friend. I remember crying on the airplane ride home. I was sitting next to a pastor who was just, I don't even remember his name, and was just hugging me. And he's like, can I pray for you? And it was like, please, at this point, anything, is appreciated. So I've lost, family members and whatnot as well. I've lost people that I've known that have been friends, people that I was in the Army with, and all those hurt. They truly do. But I think Gus was the biggest thing because he was always there. And even when I was in the Army, I was given medications through the Army, and they had mixed, and it made me suicidal. I cried. I was scared to get out of my bed due to the 2 medications that I was on and the interaction that they had caused, and that dog didn't leave my side at all. So
having those losses, how would you say you've dealt with them?
Time is the biggest thing. Time, crying, reading, trying to keep my mind off of it. Gus, it took me probably about 5 or 6 years. And now even, on the time or the anniversary of, his passing, I don't cry anymore like I used to.
Right.
But I would stay away from Time Hop or, anything on Facebook coming up, any kind of thing that would, bring that memory back. I would stay away from that for a while.
Who would you say first taught you what love is and how?
I don't know if I can limit that to just one person, but I would probably say my grandma on my mom's side. Again, obviously, the parents play a part in it. Came from a really big family. But my grandma on my mom's side and my aunt on my mom's side.
What were some of the things that they did that makes you not think like, man, that was love?
Well, my grandma used to stay up real late with me. We would take little trips, overnight to, the Holiday Inn, which had the Holidome and the swimming and the whatnot. And my grandma would stay up and we would play cards in the bathroom until 3 a.m. And every time my mom would get on to me for something, she's like, you just need to help her through it. Just help her through it, love her through it. And I was grounded a lot, and every time I was grounded, even my grandma would be like, come on, they're all sleeping, let's go play cards, let's go play games. So we would sit on the bathroom floor in the hotel room and playing games. And then my aunt just used to always want me to experience everything that she possibly could. That she would pick me up. With living in Chicago, she would take me to the beach. We'd have bologna sandwiches, and just take me to explore places, which is very awesome. And now even as an adult, my aunt and I do a lot of things together. She actually currently lives up in Monument, so I get to see her when we're both in the state and get to spend time together and do things together.
What's love to you now? Has it always been the same or has it changed? If it's changed, what's the difference between what you thought love was to what you believe it to be now?
I've kind of gone back and forth on that. So when I was probably 15 or 16, I thought if you love somebody, you can live in a box with them and be completely happy.
Yeah.
And
It's Kinda true.
you know, I went away from that
Yeah.
a little bit, but I'm kind of back to that now that Tommy and I are back together, you know, and like hopefully that doesn't happen. I mean, and if we have to live in a box, hopefully like we have some beachfront properties, you know, somewhere. But it's really more on the people that you're with and the wonderful experiences you get to have with them. And I know so many people who are like, it's about the money. No, no, we you know, especially now with everything going on, you know, is money nice? It is nice, you know, but if you can survive in the really bad times, once the really good times come back around, it's even, you know, it's even better.
How would you describe that feeling, you know, of knowing that all that matters are the people you love? How does that feel when you're around them and you know that and you feel that?
Absolutely wonderful. Because there's nothing like people stress out about things. If I stress out about stuff, it's on a subconscious level that I don't even realize.
Yeah.
Like everybody's like, oh, well, what about this? And what about this? It's like, you know, that's what I tell my sister. My sister's staying with me right now with my 4-year-old niece as well. Her husband's in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And when that's going on, can we pause it a second? Well, not pause it. Hey, don't touch that. Okay? Sorry, because you're gonna mess up the video, and then it's gonna shake, and then that's something that is very hard.
I mean, you might as well say hi. It's gonna be
Yeah,
on this
yeah.
right
Here,
now.
you
Let's say-
come
wave
come say
wave
hi, since you're already in
Over
it.
there, yeah, wave hi. There you go. There you
Okay.
go. Right here, or maybe it's better. Right
Yeah,
there.
go there because you like touching stuff. I love you, but you have the same problem that I do. Okay, yeah, sorry, because like I noticed you fixed it earlier, and I'm just like I'm like stop touching it, stop touching it.
Hopefully the light doesn't fall
Okay,
over.
don't touch the light. All right, I'm sorry about that.
No, that's good. It's candid. I'm not gonna cut it. I'm gonna leave it.
Okay, that sounds good.
Can you just tell me what's the general good day for you? Just a good day.
Every day that I wake up. Yeah, every day that I wake up, and I physically don't hurt, and that will come, I think, with one of the other questions. All that will come into play very soon.
Can you tell me about a bad day, if you have those, and how you get through it?
So, I do have bad days. Everybody has bad days. My bad days are just a little different than other people's bad days. Well, maybe, I guess I don't know everybody else in the world's bad days. So sometimes the bad days, I get nightmares. I have PTSD issues. I have the TBI issues. There's some days that I wake up and I am in excruciating physical pain. So depending on what those are, normally even if I have those, I remind myself that I woke up that morning, because waking up is the first step. And so many people, I think, take that for granted. You know, normally somebody might be like, oh, somebody took my spot at the supermarket, or, you know, cut me off. And to me, things like that, they're trivial. They don't really matter at this point in my life, just from everything that I've been through. So, yeah, that's normally the first thing. I try to reframe, a lot of reframing, you know, look at positive things, because then at least if I'm looking at the positive things, you know, it's like, well, the negative really isn't that bad, you know, and again, it can always be worse. So I try to do a lot of that.
What's a person or event that's shaped you, good or bad? How's it feel when you reflect on that person or event?
So I guess there's two different events, or like,
We can go through both.
okay, well, I guess it's one event, but then one of the people who was kind of involved with that event also played into it, and it was just a not so great situation. So I guess, should I start with
Yeah.
the event? Okay, so in October 2015. I was in a really bad car accident. At that point, I was already out of the military, and I was in fairly good shape after being out of the military and being broken by the military. It took me a few years of, the stretching and, getting muscles built back up and getting my body back to a really good spot. The car accident happened. It broke my left femur, shattered my right ankle, both my hands and wrists, my jaw in 2 places. It left me with a severe TBI. I have this cool little scar right here. My lip was up over my forehead. It was traumatic. It took 2 jaws of life to get me out of the car. And that's the main reason that every day I'm thrilled that I'm still alive, because I shouldn't be here. Even when my sister had drove back up from Texas, and went to grab some stuff out of the car for me, they're like, we're so sorry for your loss. A lot of people thought I was dead. So, and that's why I'm here. My friend and guy that I was dating at the time was a very narcissistic type of person. After the accident happened, he had moved in with me. He was abusive, physically, mentally, emotionally, and that was something that I should not have given so much time to. I don't regret it. I don't like using the word regret, but that is something I think I gave way too much time to having the hope that things would get better.
How did that feel going through that when you're in it and you're going through what you're going through personally, and then on top of it, whatever abuse you're going through?
It was hard because at that point I had lost so many memories. I didn't know what was real, what wasn't real. It felt like, and then for a while, I questioned myself. And for somebody, I feel like I'm a fairly intelligent person. And going through that, I started questioning myself. I started questioning what was said. I remember thinking, I need to start recording this because what he's telling me just happened was not the reality that I had. And it got to the point where I did start recording things, just for my own sanity, and started finding out after years and years that a lot of things that were happening weren't true from what he was telling me. And then it really started hurting even more that somebody who was supposed to love me was mind fucking me, essentially, and seemed like they were enjoying every second of it.
How'd you get out of that?
I left. I didn't leave. Actually, I kicked him out of my house and told him to go. We were still dating for a while. It was hard. I have never really known what a true narcissist was, and it took a lot of time, and it really took me just being fed up and then saying I was done. And then even after he had moved out, we were still trying to be together, be friends. And we had went to Las Vegas, actually, when all the COVID stuff had kicked off, for a 311 concert. Thought things were great, and just to come to find out a few months later that he had been lying to me for months. And after that, it was just like, I'm done. I'm done. I had a mini stroke from all the stress, is what I was told that it was from. And then having the TBI from the car accident.
Yeah.
And it was so weird when I had the mini stroke. I was there. They flew me in a helicopter from my house. They did the flight for life. My friend Michelle was at the house with me. My sister wasn't there. She had left. I called my neighbor once I figured out what was going on. And I told my friend Michelle, I'm like, well, where's my husband Tommy at? My brain just went back to years ago. And she's like, what do you mean, hon? She's like, you're not married. You don't have a husband named Tommy. And after that, I had, kind of talked to Tommy and everything else and filled him in on everything that was going on. And, he decided to move back, and we decided to get back together and move forward. So I'd like to say that I was able to go away all on my own, but Tommy's one of the people who saved my life.
What has inspired you?
Lots of things. So my son being one of them. Tommy being one of them, my sister, my niece, my work. I'm a photographer, and I absolutely love to share the beauty of the world with people. Like, I love to travel, trying to make the world better for other people or to share that beauty with other people inspires me on a daily basis. Because I think, especially now with everything going on the way it is, people lose sight of what's important.
What's been a humbling experience for you?
Probably being told by people who I don't know very well, or finding out after the fact from friends that just a simple conversation or a simple hello, because I don't want to put anybody else's business out there, but being told after the fact that me just being who I am and empathetic and listening and being caring saved somebody's life.
How did that feel?
It felt really good. It felt really good. And that's one of the things I try to, teach my son and, even my niece, and tell other people, just be nice to people, just say hi to people. If somebody doesn't look happy, go tell them hi. Well, the worst they're going to do is, give you a weird look, because life is too short to be mean. And just saying something sweet to somebody can, have profound effects that you may never even know.
Go in your mind and think. This life event can be mental, physical, or spiritual. Tell me about a time in your life that you can relate with the word war.
Our current situation. The current situation. I mean,
how so?
Information is one thing that I've noticed. I know we were talking a little bit about the interview as well, but I think there is a lot of false information. I think people are at war with themselves because they don't know what to believe. And, I don't know what the future holds. My biggest thing would just be to ask people to be vigilant, and to investigate things. Don't listen to one thing, Find out information for yourself. If you're watching something, dig. Find out how true that information is, because I think the more people that start looking for the information and find out how much truth there is behind it and, what is not truth at this point, in our lifetime is very, very important.
How do you deal with that war?
Well, normally I like to live under a rock. or spend lots of time in the woods. When it gets close to home, when people aren't allowed to go to school, when people are told that they're not allowed to, go into small businesses. We're all able to go into Walmart, but, we have to close the small businesses.
Yeah.
It's frustrating being a small business owner. My sister's a small business owner. We do a lot of, farmers markets and craft fairs and whatnot. And just watching how things can be shut down so quickly, it's baffling.
So the same type of question. Go in your mind and think. This life event can be mental, physical, or spiritual. Tell me about a time in your life that you can relate to the word peace.
Every time out of mountain nature, whether it be fishing, off-roading, trail riding, or really anything to do with automotive type things. We're getting ready. We're going to run the Baja 1000 next November. So got the truck and looking forward to getting the team together and figuring out all the sponsorship stuff. But that is it's amazing how so many people can come together. And it's people, that I've known for years, some people I've just recently met. And how amazing when you get the right group of people together, how things can start being accomplished.
Can you tell me about a truly difficult time in your life? How that felt and how you endured?
That would probably still go back to the accident. Again, when that happened, it was life-changing. I wouldn't let my son come see me at the hospital. His dad flew out here and had got him. And that was another time, too, when the memories went. My dad and I were talking, and when the accident happened, like I remember talking to him in the hospital, and then something just went in my brain where I thought that we weren't talking, and he had flown to see me, and I refused to see him. Because just with everything going on, that's what my mind had went to. And just going through all the physical stuff, learning how to walk again, learning how to hike again, was just, it was hard. And then to put the mental stuff on as well. And then when you put on the having to pay the bills, you know, I'm to this day, I'm grateful that I didn't lose my house and that the utilities didn't get turned off and that there wasn't, you know, we never went without food. And to be in a situation, you know, that bad and to make it through that, like, still, you know, I'm grateful for it.
So you had to do a bunch of, you had to learn how to walk again?
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, you had the memory loss. How was that? What kind of mental talk would you give yourself to keep going?
That it can only get better from here. You know, at this point, you know, if it's worse, I'm going to be dead. So it's not going to matter, you know. And what nobody tells you, at least nobody told me, nobody gave me the heads up, you know, because it's like, oh, yeah, you'll get the memories back. Well, nobody tells you when you get the memories back. It's like somebody sparks dryer lint. Have you been camping?
I've been camping.
Okay, so you know like how you could use dryer lint to start the fire? Okay.
I'm a glamper.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, if you ever go real person camping, and you use dryer lint to start your fire, or you know, even light your dryer lint on fire and watch what it does, because that little spark and it goes woo, and it just very quick. So when the memories would come back, that's how they came back.
Nice.
They are, except for the traumatic ones, because when the traumatic ones come back, it's like it just happened.
Oh.
So, yeah, like there would be times like, you know, driving somewhere, somebody might say something, it would trigger. And for the first year or two, I was an emotional wreck. Like I would just start crying, or, you know, I'd walk in the bathroom if I was at home and close the door, and I would just sit there and bawl my eyes out for 5 or 10 minutes, sometimes longer, you know, not knowing why it was happening and feeling like, hey, I just relived this nightmare that I thought that I had dealt with. And that was one of the roughest parts, was the memories coming back. And there's still memories that I don't have. Not knowing, like I knew I had a son after the accident, knew I had him, made sure that he was okay. I don't remember his favorite things to eat. I remember his birthday, but I couldn't remember the time that he was born. You know, there were a lot of things that I had to ask him, and I didn't see him for about 3 months, 2 to 3 months, because he was at his dad's. And I didn't want him to see the way my face looked and everything else, because he was in kindergarten at the time. And I remember right before the accident happened, I had seen him. He had a fire alarm at his school, and the noises used to really bother him. And I went to his school, was there for the fire alarm, and then I drove up to Colorado Springs to bring my friend their laundry. And while I was up there, somebody blew through a red light.
Can you tell me about a truly joyous moment in your life?
I have lots of those. One was when my son was born. That was one of the greatest things ever. A lot of the other ones, you know, had to do with being outdoors, hiking, seeing amazing sunrises and sunsets, which are free. And I encourage everybody, if you can catch a good sunrise or a sunset, whether if you're in the city, in the mountains. I think the mountain sunrises and sunsets are better personally, but that's my opinion. But I try to have joyous moments every day. Dancing with my niece whenever I'm at home and I'm trying to work from home. She'll come up and she'll be like, can we listen to the words with the songs? Because we'll listen to words. Or we'll listen to songs together with the words, and, you know, helping her learn how to read. So we'll listen to them, and I'll put my finger by all the words for her. And, you know, that's amazing. Doing stuff with Matt is amazing. Doing stuff with Tommy is amazing. Doing stuff with my sister is amazing. Both of them, you know, and just family and friends, you know. Short of that, like, family, friends, and nature, our dogs. I have joyous moments all the time.
How has 2020 been for you in general?
So 2020 was supposed to be the year. My best friend told me, she's like, this is going to be the best year for all of us. So thank you, Jackie, for that. You cursed us all. I blame all this mess on you. That's not true. None of this is her fault. So I was supposed to be in Iceland in March,
Yeah.
and I was in Vegas when everything happened,
Yeah.
and I was supposed to be back for like 2 or 3 days, and then I was supposed to go to Iceland. Never been to Iceland. And after getting out of the narcissistic type controlling relationship, I'm like, I'm going to do what the hell I want to do.
Yeah.
My sister's like, I'll watch Matt for you. I'm like, cool, I'm going. And when everything started kicking off, 10th, 11th, 13th of March, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm still going. Then my sister calls me and she's like, well, Matt's on spring break already. I'm like, why is he on spring break? She's like, because of the virus and they closed the school. I'm like, okay, whatever. And I get home and at that point, my ex was asking me, he's like, so are you still going to Iceland? I'm like, well, why wouldn't I go to Iceland?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. He's like, well, what if you get stuck? And my sister's like, what if you get stuck? I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll get stuck in Iceland. I feel like that would be a great place to be stuck in. And my sister's like, please don't do that to me. I can't deal with 2 kids if you're in Iceland for the next 2 or 3 months. They don't let you come back.
Yeah.
So I canceled my trip to Iceland for my sister because I love her, and I couldn't do that to her. She would have gone crazy, and the kids would have probably drove her nuts. And then I was supposed to go to Croatia for work in August for a month, and go over to Italy, Slovenia, go out and take pictures, explore life, enjoy life. That didn't happen either. So yeah, all the world traveling that was supposed to happen in 2020, that didn't happen. But with that being said, we've traveled pretty much all over the U.S. I know my son and I were up in Wyoming camping in May. In June, he went with my sister and they road tripped to Maine. I flew into Buffalo, New York in June, and then drove up to New Hampshire and Maine and met up with them and went and saw the Milky Way and watched the sun come up and everything else on the Atlantic Ocean and spent some time there. And then I went to Minnesota in June as well. I came back. I was back for a few days, and I'm like, all my work was canceled for all my photo shoots and people traveling to Colorado. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go travel where I can. So drove up to Minnesota, had spent time with one of my friends there who I was in the Army with, and I learned about the boundary waters. So I canoed to Canada. I tried to go to Canada legally with the passport. When I was in New York, I was told no, I couldn't see the cool side of Niagara Falls, and then I was going to go again in Minnesota. The boundaries or the borders were still closed, so I got a canoe and I did like a 60-mile canoe trip in 2 days and made it to Canada illegally.
Nice. What would you say is the most positive thing that you've taken from this year?
That nothing's guaranteed. I've known that from before. I guess I've always known that our system is very fragile.
Mm-hmm.
This just kind of goes to show how fragile it really is.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. It's good to have the knowledge of that just so you can kind of prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And that's really our mindset on it. And I say ours, like mine, my sisters, my boyfriends, the kids, we're all, we're just waiting for it to get fixed. I don't think the whole vaccines are the way to fix it. At least that's my take on it. But I've also seen what they do in general, so I'm just not a fan.
What keeps you up at night?
Editing pictures. Yeah, mostly editing pictures. In most cases, I try not to dwell on things that I don't have control over, because there's no point. I have a little flow chart, and it's kind of something I made after the accident happened. And it's like, if I don't have control over, it goes in the fuck it category, because why lose time or lose precious minutes on something that I don't have control over? So,
I like that one. We
like,
put this one in the fuck it category.
yeah, and I mean, really, because I mean, what else can you do? You can sit there and you can be like, well, I'm going to be upset. Why?
Yeah.
You know, we only get so many minutes, or we only get a lifetime. Everybody gets a lifetime, and nobody knows how long that lifetime, you know, is going to be. Like, I mean, I hope it doesn't happen. We can walk out and lightning can strike.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, maybe not lightning. I don't know if it's cloudy out anymore or not, but
What keeps you going every day?
my family, my love for art, my love for inspiring others, my love for wildlife, my love to travel, you know, just my love in general for so many different things.
Imagine you're in the hospital today with only hours to live. What would be your regrets, if any?
Maybe that I would have spent so much time on certain people. I mean, if I had to pick one, that would probably be it. And that was one of the things, like, you know, looking over, you know, I'm like, because normally I don't have regrets, because you learn, like, even if you do something and you screw up, there's a silver lining. You can take something and you can learn from it. You know, so if you remove that part, you know, then you remove a lesson learned. So I'm not a big fan of regrets. But I guess if I had to pick one, it would be allowing so much time to be used on people who maybe didn't deserve it for as long as what I did.
So you're obviously not in the hospital. You're alive and well. You're going to make it. Do you feel that you can make amends with that regret? So pretty much what you just said, take the lesson from that regret.
I think I've already gone on that path, and it's one of the best decisions I have ever made.
You told me what your dreams were as a kid. What are your dreams now?
To make it to the Baja 1000 next November. I mean, I have lots of dreams, but that's as far as like a more of, I guess, a materialistic one, because I already do the job that I have. I absolutely love what I do. I love the time that I get to have with my family. Maybe find a little bit more balance. I know sometimes things can get a little bit crazy, but like I explained to my son, you know, when I'm not editing pictures from morning until night, you know, we get to go on vacations. Like, he's out of school, so we're going to go to my mom's house in Arizona. We're going to leave on Thursday. We're going to leave tomorrow, but I have too much stuff to do before then. You know, but we're just going to take off and go down there. And normally, if I had a normal 9-to-5 job, that's not normally a possibility. So I mean, I feel like I'm living a dream in most cases.
You're the co-author of your life book. What's your picture perfect ending?
So funny story, like, that you bring up the book. When I was in Minnesota, I was talking to my friend Nick's mom, and she's like, you should have a book. She's like, you are so interesting, and all the stuff you do is so interesting, and you should write a book. And then one of my other friends, like family friend, she was over, and she's like, your life is like a movie. And I'm just like thinking, I'm like, I don't see that, because I guess I'm in it.
Yeah.
But as far as a perfect ending,
if you could just envision whatever your picture perfect ending would be.
Tommy and I get married, and we take Matt, and we travel the world, and my niece Gwen too, you know, and even some other family members if they wanted to, you know, come tag along, you know, so just go travel and see every possible thing in the world that we can see, and do it together. And if I couldn't have people do it, I'd probably do it alone, and I'd be happy with that at that point, at this point in my life. If somebody would have asked me that 10 years ago, I'd have been like, I can't do it by myself. Like when I went to Korea by myself, I knew nobody. Like, I was an emotional wreck, and I was terrified. And now years later, like, I have no problem. I'll go anywhere by myself. I don't even care anymore, because I got tired of waiting for people to be able to go with me. But I think that I've put myself in a good spot now to where, you know, I don't have to do it on my own anymore.
That's it.
Awesome.
That's it.
I'm sorry you were bored, Matt.
How was it?